This is the Drive-In Podcast. Take one. Bada bing, bada boom. Welcome to the 86th episode of the Drive-In Podcast. On today's episode, we have our review of A24's Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. This is Dr. O on the horn. I'm joined by Ricky Flicks. Episode 86 has officially arrived. Shout out Nikita Kucherov. Ricky Flicks, what do you think about the hockey reference for today's episode?
Yeah, I didn't know if we were going like tight ends, 86. I was it was gonna be interesting to see where you're gonna go with that, but went hockey. I like it. But yeah, unbelievable Monday episode with the checkup, crazy trailer roundup with Marcel. If you haven't checked that out, check that out. It's in your feed. Some crazy bold predictions there, and also some Will Smith backlash from myself. But today it's all about Michelle Yeoh, movie star, and maybe future Oscar winner next year, 2023.
I saw a tweet on Twitter, obviously, Ricky Flex, where it says it was one of the major movie podcasts, a rival podcast of ours that I will not mention by name, but they did a tweet saying it was like a bar graph saying talent. It was like all the way up to the top of the tweet, and then recognition, it was at the bottom of the tweet. And I feel like Michelle Yeoh is someone that absolutely belongs in that category. I feel like she's not as mainstream to most audiences. Yes, we have our Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. She's been Crazy Rich Asians, and she's been in Shang-Chi. So it's interesting that we have her show up in this movie, and the tweet appears at that time. I feel like she enters that stratosphere maybe more so than any other actor.
Well, Doctor, it's funny that you mentioned mainstream and Michelle Yeoh, because do you know what her next project is?
I do not.
Oh my God, Doctor. She's going to be in the Avatar movies.
No way. Oh my God. Never mind. I take it back.
If she's not so that tweet is idiotic. Like, she's going to be in the biggest blockbuster of all time, minus Avengers Endgame.
It was asking all like followers to say, who do you think it is? And I think Michelle Yeoh fits in there until I saw that. So you're basically calling me an idiot, which is fine. I've heard it once or twice.
Okay. But yeah, I guess people just don't know that. If you don't know, then probably most of America doesn't know that she's going to be an Avatar. Like, that's huge. So, like, obviously this role was perfect for her. The mix of crouching, like the action with Crouching Hidden Dragon, and then also the Crazy Rich Asian mother element here. This was perfect. Perfect segue or lead up to Avatar later this year. Like, people forget Avatar 2 coming out later this year. Like,
that is like a perfect hybrid for this performance. When you think about Crazy Rich Asians with Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, there's a lot of martial arts elements to this movie, and also maternal instincts and doing what's best for your child, looking after your child. And it definitely sets in during this film. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. I'll get to the synopsis. We'll get to who's starring other than Michelle Yeoh. We'll get to the directors. But Ricky Flicks, I wanted to ask, what were your expectations going into this film?
Sky high. They were sky high. I was still a little nervous because I remember watching this trailer. I don't know if we actually did a trailer roundup with this one. I forget what movie we were at. It might have been actually Shang-Chi. But I don't remember exactly. Saw the trailer for this movie. Thought it was like very weird, very meta, literally. But still, like, it's A24, Michelle Yeoh. I was like, all right, like, it's gonna be good, but like, I don't know if I'll like it. I liked it a lot. This movie was awesome. This movie killed it. This movie is literally what every movie should be. It literally is the perfect blend of movies. We just mentioned the references there to like Crazy Rich Asians and Crouching Hidden Dragon. This movie was a little bit of everything. Had your action, had your sentimental moments, emotions, just great acting, great performances, great story, mind-bending, psychological, like, mind-twisting elements. Like, had everything that you ever want to see in every single genre in movies in this one jam pack into this movie. So my expectations were sky high, and it hit them, Doctor.
I had sky high expectations as well, and I would say it did live up to them. You see like the 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. You hear the buzz on Twitter. You hear the exclusivity. Like, you feel like you're in a special club if you were able to see this movie. And I feel like this is the type of movie we need to be seeing in movie theaters. So original, so refreshing, so creative, and it lets these directors, Daniels is what they call themselves, the two directors, one group. So I'm excited to see what they do next. I was so taken aback by what they did, because you hear the term multiverse and you immediately think Doctor Strange. You immediately think Spider-Man No Way Home or Loki, or you think about The Flash, but you never think about multiverse and also just like regular people. And like, if you made a certain decision, how would it impact the rest of your life? Like, what if that was a separate universe that you lived in? When I was watching this movie, I kept thinking about like those people who say like, "Oh, if I didn't tear my knee in high school, what would have happened?" This movie would have told you what happened to you in high school, after high school, and that's in that predicament. So there's no way you're faking it until you make it there. So I loved it. But let's get to the synopsis here, and then we'll dive right in. The synopsis reads: when an interdimensional rupture unravels reality, an unlikely hero must channel her newfound powers to fight bizarre and bewildering dangers from the multiverse as the fates of the world hangs in the balance. This film stars Michelle Yeoh, Stephanie Hsu, Ke Huy Quan, James Hong, and Jamie Lee Curtis. It's directed by Dan Kwan and Dan Shiner, which are together, they're known as Daniels. Ricky Flex, before we get going here, does the name Ke Huy Quan ring a bell to you?
Yes.
Can you enlighten the audience who this person is?
So I'm guessing most people listening probably have seen The Goonies.
Wow, that's what you thought of?
Yeah, he's Data.
Wow, we thought of different movies, Ricky Flex. Interesting.
What? I can't.
Indiana Jones Temple of Doom.
Oh, wow, that's a callback.
That's what I immediately think of, and I kept wondering as I watched this movie, what is this person from? I know this person,
right?
And
I was doing the same thing, but mine went to The Goonies.
The constant positive mentality. I was like, this is the guy from Temple of Doom. This is him, and it's just him in it's an adult form. I was like taken aback. I'm not even an 80s kid. You're not an 80s kid, but like he's still, it's amazing to see these people decades later and you still find them so recognizable from roles they played as children. So I think he murdered it in this movie too. I thought Michelle Yeoh was really good, but I thought he was also exceedingly good. And I all I heard about, talk about expectations for the film, Michelle Yeoh is all anyone could talk about. She's like, oh, this woman pretty much put the team on her back for this picture. This other guy though, it's not too shabby, man. What a comeback he's putting on right now.
By the third act, he was putting, like, when he's jumping into different characters and stuff like that. No spoilers yet. It's like very impressive what he did here. So at the end of the day, this is Michelle Yeoh's movie. This is her, this is her movie. But this guy, great performance. Like everybody really did their job. Like knew what the role was, excelled at it. Everyone. And he was just like the second guy, the second, like right after Michelle Yeoh, second most screen time, second most important character, arguably. He did very well. Joy, the girl, Stephanie Hugh from Marvelous Miss Maisie, she did great. Like when she turned into, like, I won't spoil anything, but that was amazing. End of the day, Jamie Lee Curtis was really good. What a comeback for her. Halloween, now this, and she did Knives Out. So like her comeback's on. Like everyone, this whole cast was awesome.
This was really a spectacle. It honestly was. And in a world of superheroes and franchises, this should be a movie that everyone goes to see. This should cross $100 million at the box office. It really should. And I was really disappointed to see that it only raised $6 million over the weekend. I literally predicted to you, Ricky Flex, I was off by 25 million. That was going to hit at least 30 million this weekend. But then again, there's a little bit of exclusivity to this movie. It's not showing in every state, in every theater, but it would be a benefit to all if it was available. And it really made me beg the question, Ricky Flex, do you think this movie's possible if a major studio is producing it and is backing it. Let's say Universal or Sony wants to make this film with Daniels. Do you think they're able to make the film that we got to see in theaters?
I'll say yes, because do you know who produced the film?
Yes, I do.
The Russo brothers.
Yep.
The directors of Endgame, Infinity War. For people that didn't know, this multiverse trend, metaverse era that we're living in is perfect. So big movie studios would do this project, let alone having the starters of multiverses kind of producing the movie with you. The big name recognition of the Russo brothers, like this movie's getting made at any competent studio.
Right. But what was going through my mind is that if, let's say this was made at Warner Brothers, what would they do if they got their hands on this and they saw the script? They're going to plug
Matrix,
in
Resurrections.
Well, I'm thinking, like, if you have all these different universes to play in, you're going to see Michelle Yeoh as a superhero interacting with Batman and Superman. You're going to see Michelle Yeoh potentially going to the Looney Tunes world. It's an animated figure.
Yeah, Space Jam this thing up.
This was the ultimate source of, just individual thought and creativity. And as I said before, like, the word I would express to describe this film is refreshing. It doesn't feel like it's connected to anything that came before it, other than some homages that are made to it. If this was made by a bigger studio, you would tell it's made by a bigger studio. A24 to me was the perfect locale for this movie. I really don't think it's close. And it's just obviously the freedom for these directors to kind of play around in the world that they create themselves, or this universe, I should say, that they create themselves. It's so awesome to see. And it feels like it's truly different from everything you've seen before it. And that's so rare in the world of movies that we see. But Ricky Flux, I also wanted to mention, do you know what superhero project these directors, Daniels, they were offered to do prior to this movie? Any idea?
Shang-Chi? I don't know.
So
I'm just thinking because people in this movie were in Shang-Chi. So
right. No, that makes sense. No, they were offered to do Loki, which is kind of wild because it's kind of opening up the multiverse, just like Spider-Man No Way Home did, and Doctor Strange Into the Multiverse of Madness. So they kind of said no because they want to see their own vision of the multiverse be played out on A24. And I think it really benefited them because I feel like, obviously, if you are trying to open, this is also I'm thinking, you're trying to open the multiverse, do your own type of ideas within like the constraints of Marvel or DC. There's so many people that sign on to directorial duties and they want to make their own type of movie. We see Moon Knight. People want to make like an Indiana Jones type of adventure or a psychological thriller. They want it to be seen by a mass audience. So they have to like reconfigure it and make sure it fits a Marvel mold. Like it fits a certain character, if you know what I'm saying. So if you want to make a martial arts film, and you want it to be somewhere, you want it to be widely seen in cinemas. Okay, let's make Shang-Chi, and I'll do what I wanted to do initially and move that on over. So it feels like they can actually be themselves. They don't have to worry about the constraint of the characters that are limited to them by these different IPs. They can just do their thing for A24. And I think that was the film's like strength, to be honest.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that the originality you can only get from like an A24. I completely agree. Like you definitely would have seen, like, because in this movie, there are some great homages, like we talked about, to like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Matrix. But what we would have saw was like her, like Michelle Yeoh dressed up in the Matrix, or like bring Neo in or something, right? We would have to see the Smiths or whatever. But no, we've got to continue with an actual good story, not relying on other IP, just this original content, which is fantastic. So let these two directors and writers here, these two storytellers, just continue to cook. I can't wait to see what they're going to do next. Very interesting about the Loki comment. No idea that was like them. That's crazy to me how they denied Marvel and went here instead. Ballsy move. Respect it though. Mad respect goes to them.
That's the ultimate show of confidence, that if they turn down a Marvel project into their own intellectual ability, and it really paid off with this movie, it's just a matter of releasing it to a wider audience so everyone can see what they've done. They're going to get major studios climbing down their neck, breathing down their neck for their upcoming projects. But I would love to see them reunite with A24. As I said in the previous podcast, can you imagine if we had a sequel to the first ever A24 film with everything everywhere all at once? And that's not their shtick, right? They're not a big, like, let's make a second movie regarding the same characters within the same universe. But I feel like that is a possibility with this movie somehow. I feel like it could happen. It just doesn't fit A24, you know?
But like also at the end of the day too, just to kind of like spin this take and playing devil's advocate here, not just because it's A24 and they focus on originality, they don't want to force sequels down people's throat. I think that's kind of what you were saying. And they're obviously for the money, but like they're not for the money at the expense of originality and
not budget slaves.
But this movie is one of the most ambitious movies I've seen in a long time.
Oh yeah.
This movie jam-packed with all sorts of things, not just this multiverse concept that they created. And it's completely different than any multiverse that we've seen related to comic books or anything else in any other movie. Because this has its weird isms, very weird, that you will only think of to this movie going forward, unless people copy it for going forward in other movies, like with their isms of how they get to the multiverse or get things from that multiverse. And again, we're not in the spoiler right now, so I'm not going to spoil anything, but it was just so unique. The audience, it was great for a movie theater too, because the audience was like laughing or like being like in awe or like shock, crazy emotions ranging from this multiverse concept that you don't want to get out from a sequel where you won't get that.
Right. And it's like that shock factor for the first time you're seeing it. It'd be hard to duplicate that type of experience for an audience, which I totally understand. I don't see a sequel happening to this movie. I just kind of threw it out there because A24 has never done it before, you know, and it doesn't really match up with the independent studio. So you talk about the quirkiness of it. I was kind of shocked based on seeing this movie, the boldness of it, and seeing that it still holds a 94% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. There are some weird sections of this movie. I would anticipate some audience members would have immediately dismissed, and they would not be accepting of it. So whether it be characters with hot dog fingers or like people fighting in combat with pinkies and things of that nature, just because of it seems silly to them, it seems unrealistic. But this movie, it's all in on the theatrical experience and making sure that the audiences have the best time taking it in. And I loved it. I love the quirkiness of it. And we were talking about some other like moviegoers that we know, we could see like, oh, this person would not accept this movie because they would just think like this is too silly for them. So were you kind of surprised by like the acceptance of this movie and how it's automatically being hailed as the best movie of 2022 already?
I honestly, like, I see what you're saying, but I think just like after seeing it, it's like, no, because again, like what I said in my opening comments, this kind of hit on everything that you see in cinema, the action, the sentimental value, like the Coda, like what we talked about with Coda, the heartwarming story and connectivity, family, like it hits all the notes that you see in across a wide majority of genre and across all genres in cinema. And even if you might not like psychological thrillers, but you like comedies, this had that. You may hate comedies, but you love horror. This has some horror elements. So again, like at the end of the day, like I see what you're saying, the quirkiness, but I totally get why it's super high here. And also, it was visually appealing. Like this
Big
was
time.
stunning to look at. And to go along with that, the editing, incredible. This I would not be like, I know we talk about the Batman and a lot of behind the scene awards with that. The editing in this movie was spectacular. This, a lot of times, I felt like I was watching a fast paced, like Netflix animal documentary or like nature documentary.
Oh yeah.
But fast paced with action sequences. It was incredible what they did here. This is a cinematic achievement. A cinematic achievement.
They're just blending so many different types of styles. I know we're going to address that with the spoiler section here, but before we get into like that type of stuff and spoilers, but I want to just touch upon the performances here. We touched upon it prior to talking about Michelle Yeoh and her prior filmography and her future filmography. But we talked about her putting this movie on her back pretty much. Ricky Flex, what made her so good?
Again, I think it's because of the like she has the action experience, she has the mom, you know, figure experience, like being that like strict mom, but also like harsh and yeah, like lesson mom. You know what I'm trying to say there, and also
Wise.
she's just a great actress. Yeah, Wise. She's also just a great actress in general. So just the blend of all that just made it perfect for this movie that had all of that, like all these different genres. It was perfect. She was the perfect casting.
She like I think talk about blending different elements. Like she was perfect, as you're saying, as that like that typical Asian mother who expects a lot out of their child and their husband, but also she, as the movie goes along, you see her comedic timing and how good that is. And then you see her action ability, the way she's able to move and then also transform into these different versions of herself. And it just seems like a blast of a performance like from Michelle Yeoh. It just seems like she is having the time of her life doing this. And she's not like this young, spry chicken. Like she's an older lady right now in her 60s doing these types of things. And I think I really think like she was given a lot of creative freedom because like this is a crazy universe that she's being able to explore in. I would love to hear about some of like the freelance she was able to do from this movie, and I would love to see like a deleted scenes from this because of the different like um different forms that she takes and the different universes she's coming
Different
from.
costumes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. It's just like there's got to be so many golden type of moments. It's just like it's an actor in the sandbox just pulling out whatever they want
I
to.
I was thinking throughout the movie because it shows her like doing different jobs throughout these multiverses, right?
Yep.
Different she's doing a wide variety of things and skills. I'm like, did she have to learn all these different skills? Like, or did the editing and like CGI like do that? Because if it's that, then it's god dang impressive. But like there's like I'm not gonna spoil anything, but there's a couple things I was like, damn, if she had to learn that for this movie, let alone all these different things, how did she have time to like do any prep for the actual acting, let alone just the skills that she has to do in the gig? So I was just very impressed with everything she did in this movie.
Just an insane effort overall. And for the title character in this movie, that like obviously it was a tall task, but we did bring up a couple other. We did bring up Ke Huy Quan. We talked about his prior film experiences, but seeing him in this movie, he brought the obvious um, moments of levity and he brought up a lot of comedic relief in this movie. But he was just such a bright spot, and just like every time he spoke I felt like I was smiling, and I felt like that he was just the like our grandpa always says, when someone asks you how your day is, your response should always be no matter what, absolutely fabulous. And that's kind of the theme of his character in this movie, just maintaining positivity at all times, no matter what situation you're in, making the most out of your life. All right. And never letting anything keep you down because you're lucky to be where you are. And just seeing him like exemplify that to the max in this movie was just so fun. And then also seeing him also with like Michelle Yeoh transforming into these different versions of himself, where he's able to be this like shy person with glasses and transform into this dude who's absolutely taking people out with fanny packs. It was so exciting to see. Or he's this guy who's like talking to movie stars. Like it just seems like you're also able to access performances you never thought you'd be able to do in one movie. So what do you think about Quan's performance here?
No, I think you hit like everything. I think the only other thing I was is like with the fanny pack, his opening scene, like his like, oh, I'm in this movie too. I'm starring in this movie next to Michelle Yeoh. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. His first like wow moment, Doctor O, I know you know what I mean with the fanny pack. It was like,
Favorite
holy
scene?
crap, we're in for a ride here. And we had at that point we didn't even see any Michelle Yeoh like getting into action or anything. So it was like this movie was like run of the mill, kind of annoying a little bit in the first like third of the movie, first fourth of the movie. It was like kind of like, all right, let's get this thing going here. A little aggravating, a lot of different like moving pieces that we don't understand, and by the end of it, you still don't really understand it that well, which is kind of annoying. But at the end of the day, like hit with Koi Young Kwan, I definitely butchered that. It was just unbelievable intro to go along with your comments.
I agree. I feel like that scene got the movie going. That first third of the movie, as you said, it was, I agree. It was kind of, you're feeling it out a little bit. Like you're not totally comfortable with it. You know, you're about to jump into these different multiverses, but how are they going to be able to do so? And they did it in the most quirky way possible. And seeing it at that time, like seeing him do that, I was floored. Like I thought that was the most exciting part of the movie. I was right next to you. I was laughing my butt off the entire time. I couldn't stop laughing. There was no jokes being told, but I couldn't stop laughing. I could tell people behind me were like, why is this person still laughing? There was truly some laugh out loud moments like throughout this movie. It didn't
Oh yeah, the
stop
theater
there.
erupted a few times. The theater erupted a few times with laughter or like shock.
And a lot of it was due to like the style changing, like the universe changing, going to these different places. Like they knew the creativity was something else. And when something quirky happened, usually you had a positive reaction from the crowd. So good for the Daniels, man. Good for Daniels. That I'm really excited for what they do next. As we wrap up this spoiler-free section, because I do want to go into some specific scenes, Ricky Flex, I do want to talk about where this film ranks. Actually, I'll hold this one. What do you think of the fight sequences here? Let's talk about fight sequences.
They're incredible. They were incredible. Just the one we were just talking about, Michelle Yeoh, just I felt like she was fighting in every scene, but she wasn't, obviously. I'm just saying, like, it was just that good. You want to see even more. By the end, honestly, I wanted to see, like, in the final climax, I wanted to see like the biggest epic fight ever. You didn't get that, but I feel like you got enough throughout, and they were just so creative. And again, I'll say it again, like honoring the Matrix, Crouching Hidden Dragon, like stuff like that. Those type of movies, like it was just like you got what you needed, you got what you signed up for, and then some. So like just because you didn't get that huge one at the end, that climax, it's like yeah, but you did get the major one. So I think overall, unbelievable. Wish I got that like huge epic one at the end, like one on one, or like what you think about in a lot of these like movies. But at the end of the day, amazing.
I thought, I agree. The third act, like you were hoping to see this type of major battle, one-on-one hero villain type of thing, but at the same time, like I thought the third act packed such an emotional punch. I was laughing. I felt like tears coming on at some points. Like they were hitting you, they were punching you in every one of your senses. It was hitting you everywhere. And I was just like, damn, I see why people love this movie so much. I really am. I'm starting to feel it right now. But in terms of the early fight sequences, they're awesome. You know, the Kung Fu sequences. There is some like when you talk about Kung Fu in 2022, there was some, I don't know if they were like, it looked like they were like Michelle Yeoh was making connection with a lot of like the kicks she was making or the punches she was throwing, but it was still just fun to watch. And Kung Fu, if you've ever seen a Kung Fu movie, not everyone's making contact with every hit, right? We're not trying to kill anybody here. It was not Bruce Lee in 1973. Like we're trying to make sure that people actually live to see the end of the film. But I just felt like at some points where it looked a little bit like, yeah, it's Michelle Yeoh. She's like mid-60s. Like she's not going to be able to pull all this off. But there was some interesting elements I want to get to in the spoilers and how they fought. And I thought that went into like the it. Like I guess it just showed how creative like these directors are and the writers were with this project, and also keeping the audience on their toes. I did want to end with this, Ricky Flicks. Where does this movie rank on your all-time list for A24?
That's a great question. Long pause because I honestly don't know. Like, should we just bring up the list here? Like,
maybe that's a draft next week. It's A24 films.
I'm down. Like
that'd
that.
Be fun.
It's
so I would say, I guess.
Yeah, I'll hold my thoughts then.
Maybe like a top. Do you think it's a top tier A24 film?
By far.
I think so too. I think I hear Doc Olex Sr. yelling in the background. But yes,
yeah, he's yelling a big time. I think about the internet or something. I don't know.
Oh man, he's gonna barge into the room right now.
Hope not.
Guest appearance on the podcast, but I do think
again
this is top tier. When I think of top tier A24 films, I'm putting this up there. I'm probably putting The Lighthouse up there. I'm probably putting Good Time up there.
You're naming all of them. Yeah, okay, so we are talking about it.
I think that's like my top tier, like A24 films. Am I missing any? Do you think that like deservedly should be on there?
I think you nailed it. I do. these next few coming out, I'm interested to see. Like Marcel, is that going to be just a huge banger or a huge bust? You know what I'm saying? Like that has potential there. But A24, I think I kind of want to see. I think you just
Moonlight Best Picture winner.
That was, God, they are amazing, huh?
Hereditary.
They're just amazing.
Ex Machina.
Yeah. Ex Machina. And the guy who directed Ex Machina is Directing Man, which that we mentioned on Monday's episode. Yeah, dude, like they're absurd right now. They're so hot right now. Hansel's so hot right now.
They're elite, dude. They're so insane.
They're like Apple. They match what Apple TV Plus is doing right now. Apple TV Plus by A24. Just do it already. Makes too much sense. Even the logos and color schemes line up. It just makes so much sense. Quality over quantity, strategies line up. Just do it.
Whatever streaming service has exclusive rights to A24 films is going to make absolute bank. If you are on a Friday, Saturday night, you don't know what to watch, you look at A24 films.
Yeah, you know? And like the original, they focus on originality. Apple, they're focusing on originality as well, or like buying original films like Coda or Adapted. That was Adapted, but like that heartwarming, sentimental feel. You know what I mean? A24, it makes so much sense because Apple isn't aligned with a studio like a Warner Brothers is to HBO Max or something like that. Universal to Peacock. They should do this deal in a heartbeat.
100%, dude. Imagine having that. Netflix has most of them. I would say they have a lot of them. I think they must have some type of deal with A24.
Killing of the Sacred Deer.
Killing of the Sacred Deer. Unrewatchable, but still pretty good movie. So that's going to do it for our spoiler-free section. Okay. I do want to jump into about 5-10 minutes. Oh, yeah. Excuse me. So let's go into scores. Ricky Flex. What do you give Everything Everywhere All at Once?
I talked about the beginning, a little aggravating. I will say the ending climax, not just because not the big one-on-one I wanted to see, but the ending was drawn out big time. Like I literally looked at my watch. It was big, drawn out. And also just like the first half of the movie, just like they really did exposition on this, trying to set up the rules.
Didn't kick in.
And it really was struggling at my point to try to set it up. When at the end of the day, by the end of the movie, the rules don't matter. You're not going to remember the rules. Like I barely remember them, but the movie is an absolute banger. So I think they should have just ditched a lot of that. Try to just do like what Adam Project did, just stupid rules, like kind of just, I don't know, just like kind of just say it quickly and then you forget about it. So even with that, this still is a banger, 92 out of 100.
92. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going 95. I loved it. I do think I agree with you. It took a little bit of time to kick in, but when it did kick in, it really didn't let up, hit you on all the emotional senses. Michelle Yeoh putting this team on her back, supporting cast are great. We didn't even bring up James Hong, Balls of Fury fame. He is great in this movie too. And seeing him get
Santa Claus.
Yeah, Santa Claus. Yeah. So seeing him
this is where I leave you. Santa Claus is in this.
What are you talking about? This is where I think you should leave.
I think you should leave. This is where I leave you. It's not that. Sorry.
You always do that. You always do that. I'm like, dude, every time you say that, I'm like, wait, are you talking about the Jason Bateman movie with Adam Driver right now and Tina Fey? Like, I never know what you're talking about. Sorry. Yeah, but
I think you should leave. Santa Claus is in this movie.
Yes. Comedic legend, James Hong. Comedic legend. And Jamie Lee Curtis, we didn't really bring up too. I think also has a great supporting performance here.
Agreed.
Yeah, we'll dive into her a little bit more with the spoiler section, I guess. But that's going to do it for the spoiler-free review of Everything Everywhere All at Once. Spoiler time, Ricky Flicks, for Everything Everywhere All at Once. I figured this is going to be an exciting conversation just because of the multitude of different universes we saw. We talked about the creativeness of Daniels here, and kind of we got to see their mind at work and what kind of oddballs this pairing truly is. So I guess leading off here, Ricky Flex, I guess, what were your favorite universes that you saw? What grabbed your attention? And enlighten us.
So let's see. Matrix Clear. That was with the bullets. Saw that coming a mile away. That was pretty obvious. I guess Pixar, Ratatouille. You saw the
Oh,
Pixar.
Ratatouille?
Yeah, Ratatouille.
Ratatouille?
Yeah.
That bit got a little old though by the end. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
it's getting a little
Little.
tired.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. But yeah, I think those are like the two prominent ones. There were no superheroes. Um, I didn't like you saw like I don't know. I don't think there's like what about you? Like
So I had a couple that I really enjoyed. For one, I loved the universe where she becomes a famous like martial artist, an actress, and
oh, you're talking about that.
well, yeah, like different universes that
I
like
thought you were talking
taking
about
place here.
I thought you were talking about like references.
Oh, no, no, no. No. I was talking more about the places we saw these actors
I
go
got it.
within the movie. And like you saw how big the scale was. But I think it was actually when she was a singer, now that I'm thinking about it. It's when she runs into Raymond and they're not married.
Oh, the
Uh,
actress one.
Yes. Is it either that one where she's singing or
No,
she's
the
an
actress.
actress? Okay.
Actress.
So when she runs into Raymond, who's wearing a suit, and they're not married at this time, but also I love that idea of inevitability. Like she always is going to end up with Raymond at some point, no matter what universe she is in. And I like seeing this side of Raymond actually. The so seeing basically a whole different side. Like he still has that positive perspective, but he's much more suave, he's smooth, he's well spoken compared to like the bumbling buffoon he appears in the original universe of the film. So I really enjoyed that one. And I gotta admit, I really did like you talked about earlier in this episode, like you almost felt like you were watching a nature documentary. The scene where they become rocks, I think is pretty awesome. And it
That
has insane comic relief in it.
that was hilarious. That was very funny. The like obviously we're living in an era of closed captioning is very popular. It almost was a little too much. There was a whole paragraph on the page, like on the screen. That was kind of a lot. But other than that, I do think that was very clever. Then the googly eyes, that was very fun. That was, I think, besides the movie theater, movie star one, like that one, I totally agree with you on all your accounts. Like I think um the husband that like, that really showed his acting chops there. Then the meaning of the
Oh
movie
yeah.
was behind that universe, I would say, besides reality. But the Rock one really showed the film like this film is like a huge achievement because it really connected you on an emotional level with rocks.
It just showed you like it gave you like the inner workings of Daniels's mind here, right? It's seeing like, okay, let's how weird can we push this? And there was a lot of weird universes introduced, but metaphorically, this one works so well. Where this daughter's being pushed by her mother, she ends up falling off the cliff, right? She's entering this depressing state. She doesn't know if there's any way to view the world positively, but even when her daughter's falling, she's going to fall with her, right? No matter what, they're going to be together. Metaphorically, I think it works so well as adding that comic relief. And you see as that third act is unfolding, and you see Michelle Yeoh's character, her helping all these different people and like giving them happiness, and her inching closer when they shift to. You talked about the fine editing of this film when they go through these different interactions with these people that she's touching, and then they go to like this Nat Geo type of setting with the rocks, and she's inching closer and closer, and the daughter's like inching away. It was really touching for a scene where there is no human life. There is nothing but rocks. So that was spectacular. I loved it. And I guess one of my favorite scenes is not a universe, but when she first is able to encounter her skills as a martial artist. And we know
Mhm.
that's like what we're building up to Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, right? You know, like there's going to be a scene where she's like doing Kung Fu. And when that finally comes, I mean, the whole audience is like buzzing at that point because this is the scene they've been waiting for. It's what Michelle Yeoh is most well known and well renowned for. So that was awesome. And we talked about how special those combat skills were in the spoiler free review. Any other ones you wanted to point out?
I think the one besides the Rock universe that everyone's talking about is the hot dogs for fingers. I think at first it was very funny when she got the hot dogs for fingers in reality. And then it was funny when they go into the universe. And then it was even funnier when it's Jamie Lee Curtis and her have a relationship in that universe. But then, just like this movie, a lot like towards the end, overdone a lot of these jokes and universes were very much overdone, drawn out. I think that was an issue with the movie, a little too drawn out, too much. Like, obviously the jokes ended up being meaningful, which was great, but then it's like almost too meaningful where it's like, all right, let's just wrap this up here. We get the point. So, but the hot dogs, you like that or no?
I hated it. I
Yeah.
hated it. Well, I don't want to say that's way too harsh, way too brash, and I apologize for saying that. But I think as this movie was like trying to tell you how like this multiverse works, it was way too quick to jump to that universe. If you want to add in some comedic relief, have one scene there, sure. But I think Daniels was trying to make a point like they can create any type of universe and make a compelling story out of it. And seeing that with Jamie Lee Curtis and them using their toes and stuff, but then they also show like the actors like using their hands and putting ketchup and mustard on it and licking them. It was a little much. I thought it was too early in the movie to be doing that crap. But I did lose it when you had like the apes at the beginning, right? The primates with the fingers slapping each other with the hot dog hands. That was one of the funniest moments.
That was really good.
And like the comedy in this movie was, I mean, I think it's going to be severely underrated just because everyone's going to talk about like the creativeness and they're going to talk about the fight sequences and Michelle Yeoh's performance. But like the fanny pack scene that we mentioned earlier, with Raymond's character, the part I was talking about, I was dying laughing. I'll provide a little more insight. It's the security comes. Raymond snaps into his like alpha Raymond mode. He starts absolutely wheeling and dealing with this fanny pack. As a fanny pack enthusiast myself, I love to see it. And then also when he beats them up, and then all of a sudden he takes a couple shots, he's down, he snaps back into alpha Raymond, and then the guy who's facing him just goes, "Oh." And then he hits him in the face, and then he keeps going after him. I that's what I couldn't stop laughing because the delivery was so on point from that supporting member. I loved it.
Yeah, and that again, that was like that was the intro to the action sequences and like this weird connecting to the multi-universes, other universes to get your powers. And then what's the next scene that we get? The next action scene? It's Jamie Lee Curtis becoming a WWE superstar.
Mhm.
So that was very cool. And like
That was awesome.
and like she's doing all like the chair tricks. Oh, she's going for the knee break, back breaker, like a lot of those jokes, but also like it worked really well. So those are the parts like where this movie was just humming along, like it was in its groove and not like overdone at all yet.
You feel like anything was possible. Like when she's fighting, she's not gathering skills from just being a martial, like a martial artist in another universe. She's a sign wielder in another universe in front of a store who's like just twirling, like
yes,
twirling the signs, and she's able to utilize that skill in combat, and they're going back and forth. The editing, dude, I swear to God, you're right. It should be nominated for an Oscar. It's so good. And they go back and forth from universes, and it's so clear that how she's utilizing these different powers and abilities.
It's amazing.
Fire.
Like it sucks as in it came out in April, and the Oscars aren't until obviously they won't be eligible for another year. But it's like that, the acting, you could say, original screenplay, unbelievable on all fronts for this movie. Crap, I was gonna say something else. Oh, yeah, right. With the wheel, the spin guy.
The sign.
They had to, like, after watching NFL Sundays and watching these progressive commercials, yeah, they had to take it from that now.
Yeah, I mean, like those things are kind of popular in pop culture right now. It's just like those kind of people. Like you see them in commercials all the time. You got like the blow up that's usually in front of like
yes.
the, I'm talking about, the Gumby looking guy who's like got the crazy hands doing whatever. Like, yeah, exactly. So I think these guys are literally capable of anything, and that's why like I would love to see another multiverse movie from Daniels, but I don't think they're going to want to go to this again, That's why I think the possibility of a sequel, there's like so many endless possibilities with this concept. And that's why these superhero franchises are drooling over it, because these franchises don't have to end anytime soon. And now with these types of movies, like, do you think we're going to get more multiverse movies, not just from Daniels, but other types of filmmakers now?
I'm not sure, but one thing I want to say before I start with that is that I don't want to see a sequel at all. Like, let this breathe. Let this be its own masterpiece in itself. Origin movie, I just want it to be a solo one and done. And I want to see them like venture out and do other things. The Daniels, right? Yep. Jordan Peele, Get Out, right? People were asking for sequel. No, one and done.
This
Get
is
onto
different,
like
Ricky. This
Get
is
on.
different.
So what? But it's not comic books. Like,
but what do you want to see? Like, let's say, okay, fine, not the same characters. Do you think you would want another multiverse movie? Because like technically anything's a part of the multiverse, right? When you're in the multiverse,
it would have to be
so
drastically different,
like a different story, but in the multiverse. You know, I could see that like potentially happening. They could take any ideas, you know, it's crazy how the potential for a type of movie like this.
This is where people like you is where we get sick of things. The multiverse idea, I'm already getting sick of it from the MCU. This is like a nice refresher.
Ricky,
it doesn't have to be
don't do that. You
are the people. You are the people.
You don't want to see Daniels make another movie about the multiverse. Doesn't have to be starring Michelle Yeoh. It could be someone else.
Completely different. Like not even connected to this movie at all. And it has to be unique. Like I don't know how you do that. Like the same person. Think of a different multiverse. No.
It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. But it's not gonna happen. I just want to see more from these directors. And I feel like after this movie, the creativeness, it almost has like a vibe of like they're gaining momentum right now. Incredible debut, the follow-up. Like if this came out during award season, it'd be getting so much hype, dude. It'd be getting a lot of hype.
A24 backing.
It just makes me think of like you brought up like Jordan Peele is now in my head. Like the creativeness of Jordan Peele and that original screenplay he had. You have the original screenplay from Daniels here. I mean, and they're like both young-ish directors. Jordan Peele's young-ish. Daniels are young. So seeing that what they're capable of and like the hype surrounding them, like I can't wait for that disgusting film tweet saying the next like whatever project that they have brewing up.
And again, like just to, I guess this would be my last point here with the creative aspect here. I don't want to overblow it like this movie did a little bit, but this movie, the majority of the time, was in the most boring setting in the world, an IRS tax office. And
yes, Ricky, great point.
And this movie was awesome. So they made this, the editing, the actual storytelling, everything inside an IRS tax office.
And with a boring main character, they are truly testing like their abilities. How can we make a soul setting of an IRS tax office into the most electric movie of 2022?
It's the most ironic movie of the year. New
Deepa. Yes, it's going to win multiple Deepas when we do this award show next week. Any final comments on Everything Everywhere All at Once before we wrap up this review?
I guess just one last thing I would comment on is that I didn't like understand necessarily everything in this movie. No pun intended there. The bagel. I get it.
Ooh, cringy.
Stupid.
That was too much. Too much.
I didn't want to say it as a critique in the spoiler free, but the bagel way too quickly talked about when you didn't understand everything going on. When Joy Villain was the Joy Villain, by the way, I didn't want to spoil this in the spoiler free. Joy is a villain. The daughter, electric as a villain. She was awesome. Looking forward to what she's doing next. But back to the bagel. Like they put that, knew everything. All the rules weren't even set yet, and they just tossed the bagel idea at you. That was like a big like, what is going on here? Obviously, you figure it out very quickly, but it's like still, it's like
getting away with a little too much. We're like giving them a little too much credit.
Let's get back to the basics a little bit here, even though we're going 10,000 BC.
It just makes me think, like, were they just like having these brainstorming sessions together, and then like they had it at breakfast, and someone was eating a bagel, and they said, "Okay, here we go." Were they having a barbecue later that day, and they okay, we got hot dog world. Okay, we're all set, right? Like just
raccoon hibachi.
Yeah, Ratatouille. That was a little much, but first off, that was funny. That first scene was spectacularly funny. Well, that's gonna do it for episode 86 of the Drive-In Podcast. Okay. Make sure you're tuning into us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud. We're available on every listening platform, so make sure you follow us. Also, make sure you stick around this week for a Wednesday drop of the best baseball movies draft. Our top billing segment for this week will be a separate episode, along with our Moon Knight episode 3 recap dropping Thursday. Ricky Flicks, comment here.
I have an idea for the next review.
Ooh.
Next Tuesday. So obviously Ambulance came out, Boy Jake G, this past weekend. I don't know if we're gonna watch it here. Maybe we do a poll on this, but I was thinking April 19th is when our next review episode comes out.
Batman watch along.
The Batman redo that review via streaming. See if it lives up to the same like score we gave, not in the movie theater.
Maybe we should do a watch along for the Batman, Ricky.
It's a 3-hour movie. I don't think that's
Ricky. What we did Thor Ragnarok. Remember that watch along?
I remember.
Okay. Maybe we contact Mark and we do a little watch along. Ricky?
We'll see.
Ricky. That would be awesome. We'll talk about it off recording here, and then we'll let the audience know. But I would not be opposed to talking about the Batman a little bit more. I can't believe we're getting it a week from Monday.
Today.
Week from Monday.
Monday. Sorry.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for episode 86 of the Drive-In. Until next time, we will smell ya.